Madame Thérèse Defarge is one of the most unforgettable and chilling characters in Charles Dickens's A Tale of Two Cities. As the wife of Ernest Defarge and a leader among the revolutionaries in Saint Antoine, she represents the dark heart of the French Revolution, where righteous anger and moral outrage devolve into hatred and vengeance. Madame Defarge serves as both a driving force in the narrative and a powerful symbol of revenge, fate, and the destructive potential of intergenerational trauma. Through her, Dickens critiques the excesses of revolutionary zeal and explores the consequences of dehumanizing others in the pursuit of justice. Narrative role. In the story, Madame Defarge plays a central role in the revolutionary action in Paris. She is a leader among the women of the Revolution and is often seen in her wine shop, silently knitting the names of aristocrats marked for death. She exerts enormous influence not only over her husband, but also over the revolutionary mob. Unlike Ernest Defarge, who shows moments of hesitation and humanity, Madame Defarge is resolute, unsympathetic, and unflinching in her pursuit of vengeance. Her vendetta becomes clear when readers learn that the Evremond aristocracy destroyed her family. Her sister was raped and killed, her brother murdered, and her entire family left in ruins. These traumatic experiences transform Madame Defarge into a figure of single-minded retribution. Though she cloaks her actions in the language of revolution, her true motive is deeply personal: to destroy every last remnant of the Evremond bloodline, including Charles Darnay, his wife Lucy, and even their innocent daughter. As a narrative antagonist, Madame Defarge escalates the plot stakes. When Darnay is arrested in France, she pushes for his execution, regardless of Dr. Manette's influence or Lucy's pleas. Her decision to target Lucy and her daughter near the end of the novel introduces a final note of tension that is only resolved when Miss Pross confronts and kills Madame Defarge. Her death signals both the climax of personal revenge and the exhaustion of revolutionary fury. Symbolic significance. Madame Defarge is one of Dickens's most potent symbols. She represents the relentless, impersonal force of revenge. Like the guillotine, another central image of the novel, she becomes a machine of destruction, immune to pity or compromise. Her knitting, which she does quietly and constantly, is both literal and symbolic. On one level, it's a register of names, those condemned by the revolution. On a deeper level, it reflects the inescapable fate awaiting her enemies. She weaves the destinies of others, like the fates in Greek mythology, who spun, measured, and cut the threads of life. This metaphor links her to the idea of history as preordained punishment. To Madame Defarge, the revolution is not merely a political movement. It is divine retribution. Her knitting becomes a text of death, a tool through which she encodes not just who should die, but why. She acts with the cold certainty of someone who believes she is delivering justice on behalf of generations of suffering. Her character also symbolizes the dangers of righteous fury untempered by mercy. Madame Defarge is not motivated by greed or power, but by a profound sense of moral outrage. However, her inability to distinguish between justice and revenge makes her a dangerous individual. She does not see individuals, only enemies. Her desire to kill Lucy and Lucy's child illustrates how far removed she is from the human cost of her vengeance. In her eyes, bloodlines, not actions, determine guilt. Character complexity. While Dickens portrays Madame Defarge as a ruthless figure, he also grants her a degree of complexity and depth that makes her more than a mere villain. Unlike many of the aristocrats whose cruelty incites the revolution, Madame Defarge has real, tangible reasons for her hatred. Her family's suffering at the hands of the Evremonds is not exaggerated or fabricated. It is horrific and unjust. In this way, Dickens invites the reader to understand the psychological and emotional roots of her transformation into a figure of vengeance. What makes her tragic is not her pain, but what she becomes because of it. She loses all ability to differentiate between justice and genocide. In her pursuit of liberty, she becomes the very thing she hates, merciless, cruel, and indifferent to innocence. Her downfall does not stem from weakness, but from a rigid and consuming conviction in the righteousness of her cause. Her physical description, strong, composed, always knitting, emphasizes her inner hardness. Dickens rarely gives her dialogue. Instead, she presents her character through action and silence. This restraint enhances her menace and underscores her implacability. Even when her husband falters, she does not. She is a personification of revolution as an elemental force, cool, powerful, and ultimately uncontrollable. Broader implications. Through her character, Dickens explores the fine line between justice and vengeance. The Revolution begins as a response to centuries of oppression and exploitation. Still, as characters like Madame Defarge rise to power, it becomes clear that retributive justice can be just as cruel as the injustice it seeks to replace. Her character warns of the moral perils of allowing revenge to masquerade as virtue. Madame Defarge is both a victim and a perpetrator. Her story illustrates how trauma, if left unresolved, breeds further violence. She is the product of aristocratic cruelty, and in turn, she perpetuates cruelty in the name of justice. Dickens suggests that without compassion and reform, societies are doomed to repeat cycles of suffering. Madame Defarge's knitting is an act of fate, an inescapable prophecy of death. Dickens uses this motif to raise questions about determinism. Are the victims of the Revolution doomed by their ancestors' sins? Can anyone escape the past? Her character seems to believe the answer is no, hence her desire to eliminate not just Charles Darnay, but his entire family as well. Conclusion. Madame Defarge stands as one of the most powerful embodiments of Dickens's warning about the corrupting influence of unchecked anger and vengeance. She is at once a victim and an executioner, a woman of strength turned into a force of terror by personal and historical trauma. Her relentless pursuit of revenge, expressed through the quiet menace of her knitting and the calculated coldness of her actions, contrasts sharply with the love, sacrifice, and forgiveness represented by characters like Lucy Manette and Sidney Carton. Through Madame Defarge, Dickens does not deny the oppressed their right to demand justice. Instead, he cautions against the loss of humanity in the pursuit of justice. Her character is a dark mirror held up to both the ruling classes and the revolutionaries, showing what happens when compassion is forgotten and vengeance becomes the guiding principle of history.